Okay, so with the interior basically painted, now I want to start assembling the interior liner to the main deck and floor. I've added the hydraulic rams for the rear ramp, but what I've done is I'll bring you in a little bit closer if I can. I hope you can see that. Okay, if you can see there, I've actually removed the piston part of the ram and drilled the ram out, so later on I will replace that with a piece of Albion alloys tubing of some description, because the kit parts, let's have a look, that part there, just let it focus, is quite heavily flashed, and with a big parting line on it, it would look really poor as a shiny hydraulic ram. So I've taken the opportunity to replace that. So we're going to be gluing each of the sides on. What I've done is I've taken a steel rule and I've lined it up along the area where the glue will, where the join will be made, like so, and then I've used a curved knife blade just to gently scrape along these parts here, just to remove the paint, so the glue will be gluing plastic to plastic. Very quick job, very easy to do. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to tack each side in place with a little bit of super glue. He says, looking around for said super glue, which is here somewhere. Bear with me a second. There we have it. So I'm going to be using a little bit of Zappa Gap, okay, just to tack each side in place along a couple of its points, and then we'll be using a normal glue. So just grab a cocktail stick or a part of a cocktail stick. So let's bring this out again. Okay, so you can see that. So it's just a case of adding a couple of little pieces, a couple of little drops of super glue along a couple of the joins, okay, and then let's add a little bit more. Along these areas, okay, and then with that, some super glue there to tack it in. I'm just going to line it up, drop that into place, and press that into place. It actually fits really neatly. There's no issues with the fit whatsoever, so it's just a case of making sure that you hold it in place like so, and give the glue, the super glue, a chance to grip. So that's that's gripped there now. So I'm going to add the other piece, the other side. So I'm just scraping out the areas where I'm going to touch the super glue in again. Same procedure for the other side. We're just adding a couple of drops of super glue to tack our interior part in place. Okay, so line it up, slide it into place like so, and you can see how well it goes together. Basically it's all clipped together. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a couple of pieces of tape along the top join, Okay, this will just help to hold everything in place where it should be. It's particularly necessary around the rear of the joint. Like so. Okay, so I'm just going to manipulate that into place. Okay, like so. And then I'm going to tack it along the top here with a dab of super glue in a couple of places. Like I say, nothing too nothing much, just a little bit, just to trap it together. There's a little bit of misalignment at the rear here, so this is where tacking it with super glue is really going to pay off. Again, just a tiny little bit. Line it up like so. While we're holding it in place, I'm going to use a tiny little drop of accelerator. So rather than spray it, I'm just using the tip, like so. Just add a little drop of accelerator just to keep it in place, like so. So that's our sides added and in place. So what I'm going to do now is I want to make sure that joint stays stable and stays where it's put. So I'm going to use some liquid cement along these parts here, which I hope you can see, the exterior sides. But first, there's a couple of little areas where I just want to tack some more super glue just to literally haul the interior into place. Again, tiny little dab of accelerator is all we need. Tiny little dab of super glue there. Right, so that's all ready for using the liquid glue. Now what I'm going to use for this is the Deluxe Materials pin flow. I've had one of these knocking around for a good few years, but I've never really used it, and I started experimenting with it a couple of weeks ago, and I was really liking the results I was getting. So I'm just checking. So all I've done is I've got some MEK here, so I've added some MEK. So I'm just going to fill the touch and flow up a little bit. With some MEK, like so. And then it's just capillary action will make this flow down along this joint here. So if you touch this to the joint and just draw it back like so, you get an incredibly precise amount of MEK will be dispensed along the joint. This is a really good bit of kit. I'm really glad I've discovered this. Frankly, I don't know why I haven't been using it before. But there you go. So with that in place, just use a couple of little bits of tape to hold our interior together against the floor while it dries. Okay, that's fine. So there's a little bit at the rear here. Again, let's just use a bit of tape. And so turning it around, I'm going to do exactly the same down the other side. Okay, like so. Goes in place there, and again let's just touch and flow along the rear of this joint. Like so. Another little bit of tape. Okay. And then we are going to use the touch and flow along this top join. Okay, along here. So again, it's just touch it. And pull your touch and flow along the join here, and it will dispense cement as you go. Like I say, it's absolutely precise. You don't get any brush marks. There's no excess, anything like that. It's a really neat bit of kit. So again, just holding that in place. While your cement dries. Just checking the interior for the how well the interior is joined. So we're taking the tape off of that piece, and then we're dragging our cement applicator along there to dispense the cement. Okay, just having a quick look on the inside. Now, as we've discussed on the inside, there is a join line running right up here, but I don't think it's going to be particularly visible on the finished model, so I'm not particularly minded to try and hide it. So finally the forward part, so get it together. Okay. Pin flow, touch and flow, whatever. There's various versions of this on the market for various countries and stuff, but they all do exactly the same thing. So just making sure our interior sits right back in where we want it to, like so. And finally we've got the there's the wing box here, which I've painted the interior of, the bit that's going to show on the interior. That just drops into place, and once again using our pin flow, just adding a bead of glue along there. And along the forward and rear joins. So there's our wing box in place as well. So that's our interior. The interior liner and the wing box assembled to the flight deck and the cargo deck. Okay, so now we can check how this is all gonna fit together. So our interior slides into place like so. Okay, we know that I don't want these this tape to interfere with our fit, because that liner, there are locating tabs on the interior as well. So that just gets dropped into there like so, and the fit is pretty good, I have to say. It locates straight into there. Let's bring the other half to it and see what we've got. So that's it. That is actually remarkably precise. Okay, and then as you can see, at some point this this belly pan will insert into there once I've added the wheel bays and stuff. So as of this point, I'd have to say I'm really pretty happy with this overall. So again, we've got the this interior, which will sit like so, and if I can just find the rear ramp, that rear ramp will locate in there in the down position, and then the belly will go in place like so. So it's all coming together, but I'm going to give the liner, you know, a good little while to dry and harden off a bit before we start work on the main undercarriage bays, so that we can start looking at bringing the fuselage together. But the one thing I wanted to show you on this one was the pin flow. Cement applicator, great little bit of kit, so if you haven't got one, think about it. They're very precise and I highly recommend them. So hopefully the next time we'll cover the building of the main interior, the main undercarriage bays, and we can look at starting to bring the fuselage together. So stay tuned and I will see you then. Okay, so with the actual interior parts assembled, we have to deal with the undercarriage before we can join the fuselage halves together. As you can see, I've done one side already, and we're now ready to do the other side. So I'll go through the building of the undercarriage on the other side with you. The whole lot does mount onto this here, the actual interior of the wheel bay. So it's one of these ones where you need to look at the instructions. Now, one of the things I should point out in the instructions, I'm building the original boxing of the kit here. I don't know if the instructions have been corrected, but if you have a look at these assemblies here, Okay, these listed, you can see that says 12A there, and that says 16. That 16 should be 12B. It should be the same as this here, look, 12A and 12B. So they've actually mislabeled that number there, 16, and it should be 12B. So that's just something to pay attention to if you build it. Just check your instructions, because the later boxing, the Royal Air Force and Qatari one, may well be corrected, but I don't know. But anyway, that's just a little something, excuse me, that's just a little something I noticed as I was going along. So anyway, the assembly, I'm using MEK for the assembly, because what I want to be able to do is perform some adjustments. So I've already cut off all the undercarriage parts and given them a little bit of a clean up. Bear in mind that most of the undercarriage legs and stuff will be hidden on the finished item. Okay, so if you orient your part, the actual beam where the wheels attach, to match the instructions, okay, you can see that it shows you really quite clearly which way the main undercarriage leg attaches. So the main undercarriage leg attaches there, like so. Okay, nice, pretty firm, sturdy fit. And then you've got this additional strut here, which will set the angle of the undercarriage leg to the bogie itself. As I said, I noticed it was a fairly kind of well thought out, well fitting assembly. So just make sure you locate it correctly. Okay, make sure everything goes home to where it should be, and that is that undercarriage leg actually assembled. Excuse me. So all we do is now each side is essentially the same, but obviously it's left and right handed parts. I've done the port side, so now we're doing the starboard side. So again, we orient it according to the instructions. There's a little bit extra of a attachment point there that I haven't trimmed off yet, so let's just trim that off fully. So again, we're looking at how it attaches. We can see it attaches that way. That goes in like so. Locate our main undercarriage leg. And again, we pick up the beam here. Okay. Dab of glue on that hole. Dab of glue on that hole. And then we can just pop it into place. Now I've left a little bit too much of a mounting spigot on there, so let's just trim that off a tiny little bit. Okay. It's not as fiddly as it looks actually, because everything goes together pretty snugly. So whilst this looks like quite a fiddly little assembly, it really isn't as bad as it looks. So there's the two port side bogies attached like so. Now I know how this goes together, so but it never hurts to just check the instructions. So the beam with the hole in it rather than a slot goes to the top of the undercarriage bay, like so. Okay, so I'm just going to add a dab of cement to each one of those. Again, it's quite surprising how firmly this all goes in. And the slightly larger beam with the slot in it, okay, that will locate in the bottom, like so. No great problems whatsoever. And then our undercarriage leg itself, bearing in mind this is all quite soft because we're using mech, so none of this is dry yet. It's all still quite soft. So what I'm doing is just adding a little dab of MEK there. Okay. And then we can go like I'm just going to pick it up with my foot. When I say it's not fiddly, it can be a little bit fiddly, obviously. So that locates in there like so. If you're ever tempted to get impatient with this, don't. Just keep plugging away. It'll all go together. My nascent dyspraxia aside. Okay, and there you go. It's almost into place. Like so. So that's in place now. After a little bit of a battle, but not too nothing too serious. That locates in there, like so. What I'm doing is I've just noticed that I've made a slight error on the other side, but now that things are a little bit more dry, just add a dab of glue and I can slightly adjust the undercarriage legs on this side as well. And that's really good enough. So we're just making sure that everything's and this is the benefit of using a slightly softer a glue that allows the plastic to remain soft for a few minutes, as it gives you this chance to adjust things. So we're just going to repeat the process for the other side. Okay. And that goes in there. Okay, hopefully you can see that that's all pretty good. So we're going to add a dab of cement into there. I'm just going to add a little piece of tape just to give me an indication of where I know it's pretty much the camera centre at the moment. Okay, so with that in there like so, again we are just going to slip that into its matching slot there, squeeze it together and then add a dab of glue up here. Okay, and that's pretty much that's that undercarriage done. So all you're doing then is, while the glue is still soft, you're checking that the bogies track fore and aft, and you're also checking the alignment in profile like that, just to make sure that they're more or less level like so. So we're pretty happy with that. So this whole assembly, there's a couple of slots here and here, okay, which there's these little tabs on the back, here and here, that locate in, and then you've got this area around the side, this ledge around the outside, which locates onto the fuselage side. So it's a fairly decent fit. So I'm just going to add a few dabs of MEK there, and then we're just going to pop that in, and that's already gone straight to where I need it to. Okay, so we've done that. So we're just adding a bead of MEK around our undercarriage, around the ledge that I pointed out, and we're just pushing that into place, and you can actually feel it click home. So, and with that done, we can have a look at the underside, we can have a look at it from the underside, and we can check all our alignments, and we can see that the port forward is slightly out of alignment, so it's easy enough to... This port forward has been built for about an hour now, but it's still just about soft enough that I can adjust the track. So we're pretty happy it's tracking fore and aft, or as near to it as we're going to get. Okay, we'll check the other side. Okay, to me the starboard rear is towing in a little bit at the rear, so again, just pushing it out a tad. I heard something give there. I see where it is, that's no problem. So that's it, that's the main undercarriage assembled into its bay. So the next thing we need to be doing is looking at painting the bay. So I'll come back to you when I've allowed this to set for a while, and we can look at it then. Okay, so I'll see you soon.